I always want to put the doubters wrong. There were a lot of people saying that I will be written off because I need to make the transition to the men's. The only thing that was on my mind was just being the number one and going to Lakeside as a number one. And if I go bizarre ways, then that means that I'm really doing what I like. Yeah, that just sums me up. When I feel confident, then I can play really well.
Welcome along to the latest edition of the Tungsten Talk here at the MODUS Super Series, where we have a look back at the lives and the careers of some of these stars of darts. Today, we've got Raman with us in the studio, the former WDF World #1. Brian, great to have you here. Great to have you here at the Super Series. And it's fair to say that your journey's very much been that. You've had the high highs, you've had the injury lows, and now's very much the comeback path for yourself.
Yeah, that's how you can say it. The comeback is very personal for me as well. I've been through a lot of struggles in my private life, away from the board as well as on the board. So yeah, to play well again, it's always nice.
We've spoken a lot about the shoulder surgery that you had a couple of years ago. Where are you now with all of that?
I'm feeling fine. I think it was this January at the Romanian Open. At some point, I said to my missus, I said, I don't feel any pain when I'm playing, and that can be very dangerous. Hopefully it stays the same like it is now. And I won that weekend, so that gave me a good confidence boost. And until this point, I'm touching wood now, I don't feel anything from the shoulder.
In terms of an injury like that, and then coming back from it, particularly with a surgery, does it almost wait for that eureka moment where it all clicks into place?
Yeah, you always have to put the work back in, and that's where my problem was. I was just too laid back and just going with the flow and not really practicing. But from this moment on, because I have no problems at all anymore, I put more hours in than I have ever done before. So yeah, it's going well now.
So is it fair to say you're kind of in a 2.0 phase of your career at this present moment in time?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about the beginning then. Where did darts begin for Brian Raman?
It all started when the week before I turned 8 years old. My dad was always a dart player. He was always going to local leagues, competitions, and all these things. And at some point, I asked my dad, can I please have 1 or 2 throws? And he said, yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, well, just have a 1 throw, but aim for the bull, because then you can't miss the board. And my very first dart ever was in straight middle of bull. So that's when my dad said, okay, next week is your birthday, you get a set of darts for your birthday.
So it kind of very much grew there. You knew you were a natural right from the get-go.
Oh, I'm definitely not a natural. I have to work very hard for it. So I will not class myself as a natural talent.
So from picking up a dart age 7, age 8, when did things then progress just a little bit further for yourself?
It's only when I turned 11, running high bricks. He told my dad that I need to play the Belgian ranking tournaments to try and qualify for the national squad. And yeah, it went from there, and I never looked back.
And you were a very promising player coming through the system, weren't you, in Belgium, very young?
No, not at all. I don't think I've ever won one of the tournaments with the youth. I made a Dutch Open final in my last year as a youth player, and since that moment on, I played really well. But between 12 and 17, I didn't do much, even though I was always in the national squad, but I didn't win much.
So how would you then describe that transition from youth darts into senior darts?
I always want to put the doubters wrong. There were a lot of people saying that I will be written off because I need to make the transition to the men's, and they always say, yeah, Brian, you can better not take it serious, because there is no way for you that you can achieve something in the sport, because I wasn't that good. So yeah, that's where I put the hours in. I practiced 4 months, 8 hours a day, and the very first tournament I went to, I won a competition where a lot of good Belgian and Dutch players were in.
Does that feel like kind of a story of your career a little bit, having to prove people wrong in different places?
Yeah, that's always where I play the game for. I think too much about what other people think, and that's what have been bringing me down during my career as well. But the last 3-4 months, I'm just getting rid of that, and that's where the hair comes from as well. Mm-hmm. Because I knew people were going to say anything about it, but it's just a confidence boost for me to actually do it and then say to everyone else, it doesn't matter what you are thinking, it's just me, and I have to be happy with it.
Because there has been times in your career, particularly when you're at the top of the WDF rankings, and particularly when you're going for things like tour cards, where there was a lot of talk and a lot of talk about yourself. Some of it was positive, some of it was negative. Can that type of thing affect the psyche a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Darts in Belgium is very big now, so you have a lot of keyboard warriors, and every single time when I go to a tournament, I feel like I've been looking at from people to hope, well, they hope that I lose so they can actually talk about me losing instead of me winning. So that's always what helped me back to play local tournaments was when I was a tour card holder, so I didn't really practice on the competition sides. So yeah, it was a weird transition.
How do you try then and block out that kind of noise when it is there?
I just go with the flow now. Like I said, 3 months ago, I was still doubting myself what I should do and all these things, but now I feel more comfortable. I feel very confident, and I just go with the flow and do what I like, and that's playing darts.
Let's talk about some of the good times then, and we'll begin with the BDO WDF chapter of your career. Let's begin with 2020, because you qualified for the last BDO World Championship at the Indigo O2 Arena. What was that like? And also, I can imagine it was a little bit different, because obviously most players that make their debut in that competition, they're playing at Lakeside, iconic venues, so much history. But for you, this was well, for everybody, it was a completely different arena and a completely different type of tournament.
Yeah, honestly, we didn't know that it was going to be at the O2 until like a month before, well, the Worlds was going on. But for me, it was so difficult to get there. I won the Denmark Open pretty early in the year, and then I knew I had some good points on the board and tried to qualify for Lakeside, but it only came to the very last weekend where I actually had to win in Bruges to qualify for the Worlds, and on the first day I won it.
So at that point, did you not know which venue you were playing at? Did you think you were playing at Lakeside then for the World Championship?
Yeah, we still thought we were going to play at Lakeside, yeah.
So what was it like then when you realised it's not going to be Lakeside and it's going to be another venue?
I was very disappointed, because as a young boy, you always dream of playing at Lakeside, because that was on the telly. So when they said, yeah, it will be in the O2 in London, I was like very upset with it, but of course you go with it.
What was it like though playing at the Indigo? What was the actual venue like?
I didn't like it. There was no atmosphere. It was very weird arranged, all backstage and all these things. So you couldn't have a practice on stage between the breaks. That's what usually the players do during the breaks, just have a little practice. So that was a weird one for me. And I said, if it's back at the O2 next year, I'm not going to qualify for it.
Then obviously COVID happens, the sport shuts down for a little bit. How did you keep yourself going during that period?
There were tournaments from Australia on Saturday every single morning. I think it was at 10 in the morning. All the good players, they registered for it, so I tried to play in that. Then my manager and McAlkin, they arranged showdowns against players from Australia, New Zealand, or wherever, just to try and keep my game level.
And it's fair to say, once you came back from that was when we really saw you as a commodity right at the very top of the WDF. I remember the first event back was the England Open in Selsey. The first event back, anything European-based following COVID. First of all, what was it like going back to competition after so long away?
It was strange. It was very strange. I won in England, and then I made a final of the other tournament. But a week before, I said to my missus, I don't want to go, because it's too dangerous with COVID still around and all these things, because we just had a newborn. So yeah, for me, it was very weird. And then to actually travel over and do the things I've done, was crazy.
To come away with that win. And then at that point, you knew you were going to be the WDF #1, the world #1 for the very first time in your career. What was it like when you realised and you heard that you were going to be top of that particular world ranking?
I didn't know until I made a semi-final on Friday, I think it was. And then, yeah, I'm a guy who was very active on social media. So I saw a tweet from someone said that if I reach the final of one of the two, if I win one of the two tournaments or reach the final in both of them, that I would be the #1 of the WDF. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, that's my goal for this weekend now. But because I didn't know before the actual weekend, I didn't know I had a chance of doing that.
And then the fact that you kind of did 2-in-1 because you become WDF number one, but by winning the England Open, because of the new rules that were in place at the time, you got an automatic ticket to Lakeside. And this time you knew it was Lakeside you're going to be playing at.
Yeah, it's true, but the golden ticket is not very important when you're the number one, because you know you're always in, even if you don't win a gold event. So I didn't really think about being the winner of a gold event. The only thing that was on my mind was just being the number one and going to Lakeside as a number one. That's why I played the other tournaments as well.
And then you get a tour card. So the tournament was meant to take place at the end of the year. Was it January? I can't remember. January. Then obviously the tournament got postponed. Yeah. You go and get a tour card. Now everybody knows the rules. If you get a tour card, you excluded from other TV events. Obviously you wanted to get the card, but a bit of you that thought, I may not ever get the chance to play at Lakeside.
I really never thought about having to make the decision. Of course, everyone wants to play at Lakeside when they just start. I think it's different now, but when I just started, when the BDO was so highly rated, everyone wanted to play at Lakeside. But then when you have a chance of gaining a tour card, everyone wants a tour card. If someone has to choose between Lakeside or a tour card, they will always go for the tour card. So when I eventually won the tournament, I didn't even think about, oh no, I can't go to Lakeside. But then I think it was 4 or 5 hours after I got my tour card that Nick Rolls texted me, Brian, well done. It's sad that we won't see you at the Worlds at this moment in time because we are trying to figure something out.
So when you heard that there was exceptions, what was your feeling? How did you feel?
I felt great. Yeah, of course, it's something that they take off from you because you do something good, but then you get it back because for once they had an agreement between the PDC and the BDO. So yeah, I was very, very happy with that.
But then I suppose there's a twofold pressure, isn't there? You're going as the number one seed, but not just that, you're also going with a PDC tour card status. Was there different pressure going into that championship as a result?
No, it wasn't, because I felt very confident. If you watch my game back from that tournament, Paul Nicholson even said it in commentary. He said, I've never seen someone so confident in their debut at Lakeside. And yeah, that just sums me up. When I feel confident, then I can play really well.
Richard Veitstra played a golden game against you, didn't he?
He played really well, yeah. He was my boogeyman all the time at the WDF. So when he won against Luke Riddler, I knew I had to play him in the quarters. And I maybe have tried too hard in that game because he was my boogeyman.
In terms of your 2 years on tour, how would you reflect upon that now?
Up and down. It's been a good 2 years, but it's been one of my lowest 2 years as well. It's very boring when you have to go to the hotel all the time because you lose in the first round. There is no one around you that can help you achieve better things. It's just you and yourself. And then as soon as I came to the European Tours, it was all going very well. Even made a quarterfinal on the European Tour. So yeah, it's been a strange 2 years with a lot of up and downs.
Let's have a little bit more fun then as we bring this to a close. I want to talk a little bit more about your maverick nature on the hockey, the counting and some of that. Well, where did that all start for you? Where did you find out all of these bizarre ways of going and doing things?
Honestly, I don't know. Everyone is always referring to Eric Claris. I was in a local team with him for 2 years, so maybe I had a little bit from him in that time. But I think it comes down to the practice. Every single time when I practice, at the end of the practice session, I let my missus say 10 numbers, and I want to try and hit it in 5 different ways. So I think that's where I always come up with strange ways.
Is there a part, so does the brain sometimes twig and sometimes say, do you know what, any random number you want, you think, do you know what, actually, I fancy just taking it out this way. Is that how the brain sometimes works?
Yeah. I just want to keep myself interested in the game. If I go normal route all the time, that means I'm not confident at all. And if I go bizarre ways, then that means that I'm really doing what I like. And at that moment, then it's just all happening.
So is it almost like a confidence thing then more than anything?
Yes, definitely. If you do one of the weird shots and it goes in, you feel more satisfied than just having, let's say, if it's what's the strength? 80 with 2 darts in hand, everyone goes top stops or treble 20, double 10, treble 16, double 16. But I go treble 18, double 13 because I love treble 18 and I love double 13. But if you hit that, your opponent is going to be like, what just happened? And that gives me a very satisfying feeling.
Spotters, beware. Moving forward then, what does the future look for Brian on a short term and then maybe a little bit more of a longer term basis?
Honestly, I didn't even think about that. Until this point, I've not thought about the future. I'm just taking everything in my stride as it comes now. I'm trying to enjoy the game again because the joy in the game has been gone for 3-4 years. So.
Finally, what's the story behind the nickname?
I don't think I have to tell you about it. It was during COVID. It was Ben Hunter who was doing commentary for the games on live Facebook. And he really said to me, oh, he's a spotter's nightmare. It's always a riddle where he's going at. And then from riddle, they made Riddler. And I was like, yeah, I fancy that one.
And in terms of yourself, to wrap up, how would you look back on what you've achieved so far in the sport?
I'm very happy with what I've achieved so far. Let's say if I break my arm next week and I can't play a dart anymore, I will be happy. But I think there is a lot more in the tank.
Great chatting to you. Brian, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching the latest edition of the Tungsten Talk here at the MODUS Super Series.